New York's John F. Kennedy Airport plays host to some pretty cool and unique airlines. But ever since I got into aviation, one of these carriers has fascinated me more than any other because of how out of the ordinary it is, and that's Uzbekistan Airways. When one thinks of exotic destinations, places like Abu Dhabi, Dubai, or even Santiago, Chile might come to mind, but Uzbekistan? To me at least, the fact that this Central Asian country operates a direct flight from their capital city Tashkent to New York blows my mind, and has been on my bucket list for a while now. So with the end of the year approaching, and having a whole bunch of vacation days that needed to be used, I decided to take a trip from New York City to Uzbekistan. This adventure started in Terminal 4, where I needed to check in and show my visa. If you're planning on going to Uzbekistan, you can get a tourist visa pretty easily online. Thankfully, things were fairly quiet at the airport today, and check-in and security were a breeze. Once I cleared security, I made my way to the gate in time to catch some great views of the aircraft that would be taking me to Central Asia today. This Boeing 787 was delivered to Uzbekistan Airways in 2019 and is one of 4 Dreamliners currently in their fleet. Aside from the 787, this airline has 757s, 767s, A321s, and A320s. But this 787 is the only plane that they operate to New York. Their planes are adorned in the national colors of Uzbekistan and is definitely one of the strangest liveries out there. I'm still undecided on whether I love or hate this livery, but I think I'm leaning more towards love just because of how unique it is. It definitely stands in stark contrast to all the Euro white liveries that you see everywhere nowadays. Do you have a favorite airline livery? If so, let me know what it is in the comments below. After I got enough footage at the plane, I decided to grab some food and contemplate whether or not I was cut out to spend 12 hours in the economy cabin of the national airline of Uzbekistan. I mean, like I mentioned before, there's a lot of cool airlines here at JFK, and I always look forward to plane spotting here, so maybe I should have chosen one that wasn't so obscure. But YouTube content doesn't make itself, so I sucked it up and prepared myself for boarding.
Final destination, Tashkent.
From what I've seen online, this carrier has a pretty strict no filming policy, so I tried to be as discreet as possible. There's 24 business class seats on this plane, and they're in a 2-2 layout. But I'll need to make my way back to economy today. Uzbekistan Airways 787s come in 2 layouts, one with 222 economy seats and another with 246 economy seats that have 3 sets of 2-2 seats in the rear of the aircraft. Originally I selected seat 41B, which is one of the 2-2 economy seats, but the airline switched planes last minute and I ended up on one of the aircraft that doesn't have the 2-2 layout in the back of the plane. And they ended up placing me here in seat 32J, which is an exit row seat with a huge amount of legroom. I know that 99% of travelers would be thrilled to end up in this seat, but there's not much of a window and I'd be face to face with the flight attendant, which would make filming difficult considering the airline's stance on cameras. I also wanted to present a more typical economy experience on this flight, but at the end of the day, I really can't complain. This economy seat is configured a little differently than the rest of the seats in the cabin. The tray table as well as the IFE screen both fold out from the armrest, and there's also a little control pad down here. The seats recline and the headrests are adjustable. Once boarding was completed, the flight attendants handed out a pillow, a blanket, and some slippers. I was impressed that they gave us slippers in economy, and the pillow was much better than I was expecting. Once we were airborne, I also discovered that there was an eye mask as well as a shoehorn in the package with the slippers. We ended up pushing back from the gate 20 minutes late, which was surprising considering that there weren't that many people on board. I paid special attention to the safety video, not because I had any concerns about the flight, but because it featured a lot of cool Uzbek cultural references. Remember how I said that I was worried about filming on this flight? Well, during takeoff, the guy sitting in the emergency exit row on the other side of the plane actually got out of his seat and started filming our ascent through the window right in front of the flight attendant. So I guess that I really didn't need to worry after all. Today's flight is 12 hours long and it will take us up over Greenland and then down through Scandinavia, Russia, Kazakhstan, and then finally land in Tashkent. Once the fasten seatbelt sign was turned off, the windows were dimmed, and there was a stampede of babushkas up to the front of the economy cabin. There were quite a few empty rows up there, so they were rushing up to claim one for themselves, which I can't blame them for. Thankfully, I ended up having a row to myself as well. I know at first I wasn't so excited to be sat in this exit row, but it was actually awesome. Once the coast was clear, I managed to find this empty row and check out what the standard economy seats were like. Overall, I found them to be comfortable. There was a nice amount of legroom, a storage pocket, a tray table, and the IFE screen had a USB charging port. I think I would have been completely fine spending 12 hours here. Once I got back to my seat, the cabin crew began handing out some tea, coffee, and sanitizing wipes. The crew were very good about serving refreshments throughout this entire flight. And then an hour and a half into our journey, lunch was served. You could choose between chicken or beef, but you could pre-order a meal online if you had a special dietary requirement. I decided to go with the beef, which was served alongside some cold cuts, bread, a salad, and a piece of cake. And of course, some more tea was handed out. The meal was very substantial and a great way to start off this long flight. Once lunch was cleared away, I began to settle in. As I looked around more, I noticed that the cabin wasn't in the greatest condition. Things were a bit dirty and the seats were a little worn. There also weren't any overhead air nozzles, and I found that the cabin got fairly hot at times. There's 6 lavatories in the economy cabin, and I saw the crew freshening them up several times throughout the flight. As we got further underway, the cabin lights were dimmed and I took a look at the IFE system. The options were very limited. There was a total of 50 Hollywood and international movies available. There weren't any TV shows on offer, but you could listen to some music, play a few games, or read some information about Uzbekistan. Apparently there was Wi-Fi, but I couldn't get it to work. Out of everything, I found the in-flight magazine to be the most entertaining. If you're planning on taking this flight, then I'd definitely recommend downloading a lot of movies on your tablet or phone. Thankfully, that's what I did, and it kept me entertained over this very long flight. As we crossed into Russian airspace, the lights were turned back on and some more drinks were served. And with 4 hours left in the flight, the crew passed out dinner. Your options were either beef or chicken again, so I went with chicken this time. This was another substantial meal and didn't leave me feeling hungry. Sometime during the flight, a babushka threw this bag down by my feet. Not sure why she did that, and she never came back to get it. About an hour before landing, the crew collected all the pillows and blankets. In preparing for this flight, I came across some comments about the crew having an icy demeanor, and I found this to be very true. But I think this is more of a cultural thing, and us Westerners are too quick to label the crew as cold and uncaring. I'm not an expert on this region, but through my limited travels here, I have found that many of the people are not as openly friendly as we're used to in the West. But once you start interacting with them, they're actually very warm and friendly. You just need to get over that icy veneer. And that's what I found with this particular crew. They seemed cold, but they were actually very nice once I started talking to them. In my humble opinion, Uzbekistan Airways is the most exotic airline with scheduled service to New York, and I had a great time flying with them. Yes, this 787 isn't as nice as you'll find with some other airlines, but the service was wonderful, and this experience was worth the $680 that I paid for it. I'm really glad that I stepped out of my comfort zone on this one and didn't end up traveling with a more well-known carrier, and I'd encourage all of you to do the same if you ever have the opportunity. Well, that's the end of this trip report. I'll be posting a whole bunch of videos in the coming weeks from my travels in Central Asia and Europe, so make sure to stay tuned if you like obscure airlines, and I even decided to do a train review. But until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.